All right, the 2006 Porsche 911 Carrera, rear-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual transmission. Who do we have to thank for this opportunity? It is none other than European Performance in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you want to buy this pretty mint condition 06 911, well, you may certainly do so. I will leave all their dealership information down below, and they do specialize in Porsche 911s, and they have a full service center here. Anyway, with that aside, let's go ahead and let's talk about this bad boy, because I have never actually driven a 997 before. I only driven a 996 and I skipped over to the 991. Haven't driven the 992 yet either, but I was really excited to try out the 997 because, well, I think it's the perfect balance between what a normal enthusiast or a human being can afford while getting a quality product that looks really good. So let's just talk about that exterior real quick. So this is a pretty evergreen automobile. This thing looks fantastic. I mean, in pictures and in video, it doesn't really do it much justice, but this silver 997 looks amazing in person. It's got a great paint finish to it. It's just aged really well. The lights, the tail lights, everything about it just looks really good. And it doesn't spark as much controversy like the 996 with the, what do they call it, the egg, the boiled egg or whatever, headlights, which it didn't look terrible to me, but a lot of people really hated that. But this, a lot more classic. And another thing, the 996, when I drove it, I mean, the handling, the characteristics, it was all there, but it just wasn't, you know, as well built or as solid as this 997 is. And I'll talk more about that in the interior segment. So let's just go ahead, just get this thing on the road now, you know, because we can sit here and we can talk about the exterior all day long, but really what matters most is what this thing gets you. I think this vehicle is going for around $46,000 or $47,000 here at this dealership. That's not terrible. A normal human can still afford that, and this can really grant you access into some prestigious events in society, like the 911 Club, right? Kind of get you in there. You're gonna find yourself, you know, hanging with the big dogs now, right? You're kind of in the upper echelon of society for really not that much more money. So you can kind of mingle with the doctors, the lawyers, the business tycoons of the world when you purchase this vehicle, and nobody's gonna scoff at it. It still looks good when you pull up in it, right? And you can always argue this, you know, compared to the 991s, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the far more mechanical feeling machine. So let's just go ahead and get this thing out of the road and let's find out. Damn, that thing certainly does sound great, that's for sure. But anyway, we're working with the 3.6 liter Boxer 6 engine. Okay, produces 325 horsepower and 273 pounds-feet of torque. This is probably going to be the most reliable spec of this 997 that you're going to be able to get, unless you go up to an 09, which I'll talk about in a bit. But, you know, this is the most kind of basic version, right? It's rear-wheel drive. It's got the smaller engine in it. If you go with the S model, you're actually going to get a larger engine, a 3.8 liter Boxer 6 engine. And of course, getting this thing with the manual transmission for the earlier generations is easily the way to go, because or else you would have gotten like a 5-speed Tiptronic or some nonsense like that, and that's simply not what you want in a 911 product like this, which is more driver centric. You're going to want this manual for sure. And it does take a little getting used to, right? It's a little a kind of mushy feeling, but in a strange way, it's still very satisfying as well. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's more of a casual manual gearbox. But once you get used to it, you can really rip in this for sure. For a vehicle that's kind of short on torque, especially on paper, this thing really gets up and goes just in third gear as well. So very impressed with that. You also have a electronic speedometer here as well in the middle. But yeah, if you opted for an 09, you're actually going to be getting the 997.2, and they definitely made some improvements there. No more IMS bearing design with the engine. However, most people in the Porsche community, they know about this and they'll easily get this fixed, and it's not a big deal. And if you get this thing with a warranty, you don't really have much to worry about. Just stay on top of the oil changes, and these things are remarkably reliable, so that's good. But anyway, back to some of these driving aspects. So far more of an organic driving experience, right? I really like this a lot more than the 996. The dynamics were there, but it was just not as good of a daily driver as this vehicle is. It's got all the good bits, like really mechanical sounding engine, pretty satisfying manual when you get used to it. It's pretty easy to drive as well. It's just a little different feeling, that's all. But you also have a improved suspension, all that stuff. It just rides a little bit better, a little bit smoother. Sure, over the larger bumps, you might hear the bumps a little bit more, but it's very compliant. I still like the steering response and steering feel of this. Yeah, it's got all the good bits of the 996, but it still managed to feel a lot more charismatic, in my opinion, than the 991 I tested out. And that 991 had the naturally aspirated Boxer 6 engine in it as well, but this just, you kind of feel a little bit more engaged in this driving experience, I'm not gonna lie. You still have yourself a McPherson strut suspension in the front and a multi-link rear suspension. You have 19-inch wheels all around, but you have two 35-wide tires in the front and two 95s in the rear, which I guess is nice to see because this is a rear-wheel drive variant, right? And it's a rear-engine automobile, obviously. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's test out some of this handling here. Wow, sticks really beautifully for sure. Yeah, well done. Damn, that thing, it certainly does stick like glue. And these are the Michelin Pilot Sport tires. So not the latest in tire technology from Michelin. However, it's still a great tire. In my opinion, you know, some people, what they report is these vehicles, they produce a little bit more tire noise, and I understand that, but this is really tolerable. This is really not that bad at all. However, I would still probably go with an all-season compound tire, and I would probably go with the most aggressive Continental tire that I could get. And I mentioned that a lot in my reviews, and that's because they really do make the kind of quietest tire while not compromising much on performance. Again, it might not stick quite as well as a Michelin tire does in the drive, but it'll offer you a lot more quietness and a lot more stability in the rain. Just, it's a better daily driver tire, and being an all season, it's just going to be a little bit cheaper to replace as well. Man, you really get up to speed in this so damn quickly. That's not even remotely an issue. And we also have here an active exhaust as well. But yeah, I really like driving this car. This is a high quality driving experience for what you're getting for the money. Yet it grants you so much in society, and also from a driving standpoint, this is so damn satisfactory. This is also going to be one of the lightest weight 911s that you're going to be getting into. I forgot to mention that as well. This is going to be like, what, 3,000 pounds, just around there. So very lightweight, yet out on the road, it feels like a far heavier machine. I mean that in a good way. Like, it always feels planted. It feels like a vehicle that weighs like 4,500 pounds, but it dances around like a 3,000 pound vehicle, if that makes sense. Like, this just feels so planted. You can be going like well over in excess of 100 miles an hour. It's just so confidence inspiring. So it really is magic in many ways. Heel toes are really easy as well, not a problem. Yeah, brakes, you do have to kind of get in on them a little bit to get the maximum stopping power, which is fine when you're doing a little bit of performance driving. But yeah, every aspect of this, I really can't find much to complain with. I'm just glad that this is a far superior experience to the 996. So if you're in the market for a 996, I get it. The price point is really good on those, but it's a much older vehicle. This, you're getting a lot more car for the money. Trust me, it just feels a lot more solid. And as we're about to see in the interior segment, that also is a great improvement. All right, well, that was certainly a satisfying experience. Let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior, and I'll tell you why I like this so much. Okay, clearly there's really nothing going on here. This is a sports car at the end of the day, so don't expect the most lavish of appointments, but you do have some nice things like heated seats both for the front two seats here, which is great to see, especially in the winter. You can obviously get these things with the all-wheel drive, and it can be a very daily drivable car at that point, all-weather vehicle, right? It's nice to see that you can get these things with the heated seats. So you do get certain creature comforts and a nice Bose audio, leather seats, but as a thing to look at, there's not a whole lot going on here. Like, there's no buttons on the steering wheel. It's just a nice, simple, circular thing to, grip onto here. But that's not really why I like it. The center console and everything, it just feels so nice and tightly put together, and I really appreciate that. So that's a huge advantage over the 996. That's what I really like there. Now, of course, the 991s, they got a little bit more bougie, right? They basically took the interior straight out of a Panamera and just shoved it into the 911s for the future generations, like 2012s and up. But I'll be honest, that also is like a 10-year-old car now at this point, the 991s. If you got like a 2012 or a 2013, something like that. So obviously you buy a 991, people think you bought like a brand new car, but that it's like a 10-year-old car at this point. And those vehicles, they're going to be like 30 grand more than these 997 generations. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to check this out. You get so much car for the money while not really sacrificing much on the refinement aspects, the drivability. Obviously this feels very visceral. I love the way this engine sounds, so that's great. Now talking about this interior, okay, we have these nice leather seats here. Only slight bits of wrinkles here and there on the bolsters, but for the most part, they have aged extremely well. It's a very clean car. Bose audio system, it sounds pretty average, but it's not the most terrible audio system out there. You do have a little infotainment here. Many people do like to upgrade this to like an Apple CarPlay, Android Auto type of system, like an Alpine or something. You have a few little sticky buttons and knobs here. That's the only real detriment I've noticed, but not really a huge deal. You can always get like a new one from eBay. Climate control totally separated from the screen. You have the little exhaust button like I already mentioned. The heated seat buttons here as well. Gauges are classic Porsche and very easy to understand with that large tachometer in the middle there with the 7,000 RPM red line. And this thing it sounds glorious at that 7,000 RPMs. Of course, you have to put the key in it, and that is on the left side here. Traditional Porsche stuff. One touch up and down windows for the front two windows here. It is not double pane glass, but still, there's not a crazy amount of wind noise or anything when you get it up to the higher speeds, which is a great thing to see. You also have your headlight controls here on the left side. Not too much space as far as a center armrest goes, but you can put like a cell phone in there, which is convenient. Glove box space is decent as well. You also have a sunroof here, but I really like the fact that you have this nice suede material here for the headliner, so that's going to help make this vehicle feel a little bit quieter as well, so that's great. Back seats are, that's really best for children, not going to lie. You have this kind of carpet material going all around, which again, could help quiet the vehicle down further, so I'm not against the use of carpet everywhere. In fact, I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, the rear seats, it's not really the reason why you buy this thing, but it is there. You could put some children there. The trunk is, of course, in the front, and that's why using a strut-based suspension helps. Kind of gives you more legitimate trunk space because the strut-based suspension is more compact than something like a double wishbone suspension. So yeah, the trunk space is pretty decent. It's not like the best or anything like that, but I think you can put like a small carry-on bag, maybe like 2 carry-on bags stacked on top of each other, I think. So not the worst, but of course not the best either. But you could use the rear seats as a nice little parcel shelf if you wanted to, so there you go. And when you open up the engine bay, you can't really see much. You really have to get this thing on a lift to really service this thing. That's just one thing to note. But again, take it to a place like European Performance. They have their own shop here as well, or you can find your own independent shop like High Performance Garage. It's also fine, and you could even potentially ask about a warranty on this car. But that's about it for this look at the 997. It's really about what I expected. Now granted, this is a pretty damn clean model here, not a crazy amount of mileage, and it's just aged really well, really evergreen, as I mentioned in the beginning there. Paint looks good, headlights, taillights, everything about it. And that society effect that you have, you pull up in this, you really look like something when you get out of this thing. It looks fresh still, and like I mentioned, it kind of grants into a lot of fancy parties and things like that, right? Little clubs and everything. So you have that little advantage as well. So there you go. Enjoy it. I'll leave all the dealer information down below. But thanks again for watching. Take care and goodbye.